Vijay Kamineni. I'm the Chief Innovation and Technology Leader for Logan Aluminum. I've been there for 15 years, total 30 years of experience in various uh, countries, Malaysia, Philippines, India, and the last 15 years at Logan Aluminum. Before I talk about data, how many of you heard about, everybody heard about BP? How many of you heard about Logan Aluminum? Show of hands. Our vendors don't count, so 3. How many of you heard about BP? Sorry, madam. So the whole room, right? How many of you think you used Logan Aluminum product? Guess. I see some hands. I think everybody, unless you don't drink any beverage from a can, there's a 50% chance you used Logan Aluminum product. So today, I'm here to talk. We'll talk about data in a manufacturing environment, which is very different from the retail healthcare, where there are no physical systems that data has to interfere with. How many of you are in process or discrete manufacturing, shop floor kind of an industry? I put a mission statement here because that's unchanged since 1984. If you look at the terms, a lot of the buzzwords we have today are already there 40 years ago. So we're not trying to do anything that we didn't think of. We're trying to do them better, faster, very differently than what that meant. The people who wrote that had no clue what we would be facing today in 2022. A little bit about Logan Aluminum. We started construction in 81. The plant started in 1983. 1985, Logan was established as a joint venture because we produce about 47% of North American can sheet, beers, soft drinks, soda, whatever you call. And some of those names will be familiar to some of you here, Arco especially. So we were made a joint venture between Arco and Alcan. And today, we are a joint venture between Traros Aluminum, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of United Aluminum Corporation of Japan, and Novelis. We are one plant, 1,000-acre site, 50 acres under the roof. And we're growing. We supply 45%, and we're the single largest can sheet facility in North America. With 50%, 45%. And we are the youngest aluminum sheet rolling plant in the country. And we are 40 years old. So when we talk about data, we won't be the youngest for much longer. We didn't expect to be youngest this year. We were expecting another plant to be here a couple of years ago. But in 2 years from now, you'll have another plant as big as ours in Alabama. How would that be different from how they use data, from how we use data? That's what got us started in our journey in 2017. So a few more interesting facts. We make about 2 billion pounds of aluminum. 75% of that comes from recycled post-consumer. 75% of the 2 billion pounds of aluminum we produce comes from the cans you crush and throw, so don't throw it in the trash. We have the wetlands you see here since 1992. We are reducing our water usage by 35, but these were before the ESG started. We were always very environment sustainable. So with another question, what do you think Logan Aluminum's revenue is? Some people know. Make a wild guess. Cheating. He's cheating, not you. But because we're a joint venture between TAA and nevertheless, Logan Aluminum has zero revenue. We don't sell anything, we don't buy anything, we don't own anything. We run somebody else's plant for them with their material. It's an interesting place to be from a data perspective because our owners can't share their data. Nevertheless is not allowed to see TAA data. TAA is not allowed to see Nevertheless data because they're competitors in the same market. So data becomes very complicated when you see that. I've seen faces around. Things roll up, but ours roll out. And I'm using the word roll because we roll aluminum. And just in case if you're checking time, I've been told I can go twice as long. We're missing so today we'll talk about data. That's our plant. We have 10 melters. We're not very big, we're not very small. We're in that spot where we're too big not to have enough resources, too small to 10 melters, 4 casting pits. I won't read all of that. We have about 3,000 sensors, about 250 terabytes of data per year, 17 historians, 15 operational databases, 35,000 tags in 17 different business units, all under one roof. That's our layout. Today, I won't go into the use cases. Use cases are tomorrow, same time, track 3. Probably you'll hear some of the same jokes. We'll look at the data, what we did with our data. So how many of you here are data owners? You own data or databases? 7, 8 of. How many of you are in the management or plant management or in executive roles or influential roles of influencers? So I probably will be speaking more to you than to the data owners because they need your support. They need a management support. This is not easy. Anybody has gone through that? You probably saw a lot of these depictions. This is from Hitachi's. A lot of this, getting the right data to the right place at the right time is your data, right data at the right time. How many of you think you're using your data to produce value? I think everybody should be using some data to get value. How many of you think 50% of your data is being used to get value? Yeah. 25% of your data? So 25 some, yeah. And we're making up numbers like any data analyst, we make up numbers, right? Data is made up numbers. It's all made up numbers from somebody. Somebody created that data. So we had the same problem. You heard the factory of the future. We all want to be the factory of the future. We have to survive 2 years from now. For us to maintain 45% of the can sheet market with another plant as big as ours coming, that's a challenge. So factory of the future, we have to get into the factory of the future. How do you make a brownfield data set into a factory of the future? If you're building it ground up, you can have clean data. You know the data sources, you know the new technology, your data is being collected in the new technology. So most of my talk today is about the data lifecycle and how a brownfield manufacturing facility journeys through getting towards factory of the future. I don't think we'll ever reach there. I don't think we need to keep that expectation that we would be as brand new as the plant that's being built, but competitive enough to get the value from the value perspective. So when we talked, when Logan started on that journey 4 years ago, we had no clue. We still probably don't have enough clue. We know enough to know we don't know a lot. 4 years ago, we thought we can finish it in 3 years. Anybody on that journey? Sorry about that. And this is real. This is a real struggle for any manufacturing facility. And at that time, I've been asked to look at that. How would you all like to be given that job of figure out how to be the how to make a 40-year-old factory a factory of the future, and that's it. So I had a lot of management support. I've been told this could be a career-ending job when I was taking this job, and they're true. How many of your use cases go wrong? Had any of you had a use case that didn't work out? Yeah, I see kindred spirits there. We had that struggles and not knowing where to start. We have a lot of data. We know we have a lot of data. And having a lot of data is a problem because it's noise if you don't know how to manage it. We reached out to Hitachi Vantara in 2017. They brought in a team of plant managers, IT and OT folks who've been in the industry for a long time, did a workshop and created the roadmap for us. So it's not one use case, it's a roadmap of use cases. It's a living roadmap of use cases. Some use cases worked, some did not. And we learned from those use cases. The use cases that failed helped the use cases that were successful next because of the learning. And it's been a wonderful journey. And we have partners. We'll talk about that a little bit today and a little bit tomorrow. So we were working on that journey. So that's where we started. Most manufacturing facilities, this should be familiar. You have a data warehouse stuck somewhere and a whole bunch of data. Oh, I didn't want to do that. No point. So you have your operational data at the bottom, and they have their own dashboarding. You have databases that span between operations and level 2 and level 3 databases. That's the remelt database here. And you have data flowing all over the place. PDIs and PDOs should be familiar with for manufacturing. So we had a secure data because nobody knew where the data is. So we are green on security. If you don't know it, they can't steal it. And it's not available anywhere else, nobody can steal it. But nobody can use it either, and you can't put it to work. So integration, engineering, and data quality, that's the area where we can't get value unless you cover those circles. That's what the Hitachi pipeline brought us to. So the first generation, it's an iterative process. Like everything, that volume of data cannot be handled and managed at one. And use cases, one thing we learned about use case focus is, if you do 20 use cases, you'll have 20 different data structures now. Now you can't integrate them. You created more differentiation. So Hitachi worked with us in our IoT. We have 85 IoT hub devices. So creating that pipeline of data, keeping the manufacturing shop floor safe. We should not doing analytics on manufacturing shop floor without creating a lot of disruption on the manufacturing machine. So collected those. We have Parquet files from our high-speed data. The two in the middle are we collect at 5 milliseconds, about 40,000 tags there. We only use 20,000 of those 5 millisecond in our operational data. Creating that common data lake where you can let other vendors, you can let any solution providers, which a lot of them are coming now. There are a lot of good solution providers who can, there's no one size fits all. Creating that, and it can go wherever it needs to go. That's been our biggest strength that Hitachi provided us. Now we can turn on and off data collection into the data lake from a database table, from a screen. So if I'm doing a new use case, I've been asked this afternoon, how do you know which data to collect? You don't. All data is valuable if you can use it. Any data is useless if you don't use it correctly. So this is generation 2, and if you really want to put your data to use, you have to have that single source in the middle. It has to be all your raw data coming from various sources that we talked about this morning, the photography, CSV files, Parquet files, time series data, operational data, everything on Peter's screen has to come into one, and from there, create your data set, single source of truth. That's huge for 250 terabytes of data. So this is our current journey on getting our data into the data pipeline so we can turn on and off use cases and build value on that side of it. And that's where we would have all 4 boxes checked, the data quality and data integration checked out. So this is my biggest ask for the influencers, the managers who have to approve the data requests from the data owners. You need to have that vision of where an organization would be, where your organization would be, and it will be a long journey. Create a roadmap. It's going to be costly and it'll require technology, and technology is changing too fast on us. My personal experience, we changed, in our 4-year journey, we had to change the technology we use because we have new technology, better technology coming. And one thing with Hitachi's, we liked about Hitachi, they're agnostic of technology. They own technology, but they've worked with all technologies, creating, we kind of diverged on that. We co-created, we learned in the process together. Creating that roadmap, it's management support. Don't let me get fired, please. I'm trying to do something. That's what I asked. I told my management, I will make mistakes. They'll be wrong. There'll be mistakes going. You need resources, and over and all, you need adoption. Your shop floor, for manufacturing, the shop floor, getting the adoption of the shop floor engineers, shop floor supervisors, right? In your case. That's the most important thing to get value out of data. So you need somebody who can work from the floor all the way to the boardroom to keep the use cases, your data journey safe. We'll take questions after all the presentations.